Sup? It's me. You may know who I am. I don't even know my own name, but I'm going to be doing a top 10 figures of the year so far. So, like, pretty much we're halfway through the year, or really a bit more than halfway through the year. And this is going to be my top 10 figures, I think, that are the best figures we've gotten so far, at least in my opinion. This list may surprise some of you, it may not, but let's get straight into it. Number 10 on my list is going to be starting with Marvel Legends Thor. I don't know the proper name to him. You can call him Marvel Legends, I don't know, freaking Herald of Galactus Thor, King Thor. I don't know. I'm just not Fortnite Thor. Not that one. But overall, the only reason why this is so low on my list is, one, is the articulation. And yeah, it's a bigger guy, but you know, with a bigger guy, you get bigger problems. If the articulation was a little bit better, you know, some double jointed elbows, and that's really it, some double jointed elbows, and allowed more head articulation, it would have been higher up. That's the only thing. Like, it's a great figure. The design just kind of holds it back. It could be so close to being a perfect figure because the molding, the sculpt is top tier. It's easily one of the best sculpts out there for sure. But that alone, it also just it keeps it down very, very low. But yeah, this is number 10 on my list. Number 9 on my list is going to be Marvel Legends Vulcan. Only reason why he's number 9 is, one, is a pretty normal body at this point. Like, the hype behind this figure wasn't too crazy. The only thing that made this figure very relevant was that it was an important figure for Marvel Legends. It was kind of the end of the Bucky cap mold and coming in with the new, which is what this is, exactly what this is. It shows a new Marvel Legends, a new start. And that was the main take for most people on why this figure is going to be so important. And that's why it's number 9 on the list and not 10. But that being said, it's also just a really fun figure. The articulation for this guy is straight up great. Not the best. Like, we have better ones, of course, but it's really fun to pose around with. And as Vulcan as a character and his character design, they didn't get anything wrong. It's pretty much perfect. Like, the red is right, the blue is right, the design is just, there's nothing really to complain about this figure except if you just aren't the biggest Vulcan fan. That being said, I really did enjoy taking pictures of this guy. If I loved him a bit more, you know, if I was a bigger fan, and maybe if it came a bit more stuff, he'd be higher up. But you know, that's kind of all top 10 list figures, I guess. So it makes sense. But in general, I really like this figure. I wasn't expecting to make my top 10, but like, looking back at it, there's nothing really. It's generally good in everything. It's not a bad figure. It's great. And again, it beats out the Thor simply, again, for the articulation in the head, which I appreciate that, and double jointed elbows, which Thor did not have. And at this point, the first top 10 through 7 or 6 is going to be the more iffier ones. Like, they made the list, but this is like halfway through the year. So a lot of these figures you may not even see once my real top 10 at the end of the year like actually drops. So the list is definitely going to change. But so far, he's definitely my top 10 figures I've gotten this whole year. Number 8 on my list is going to be Marvel Legends Invincible Iron Man. The design done by Alex Ross. Overall, I really liked the design. That was the main takeaway of why it got in my top 10 list. I love this design. I love everything they did with this figure. I like the gold they used, the red. I think what would have made it a bit higher up is if they could have used a more metallic red, kind of like the modular armor we had last year. The gold could probably stay the same. The red could be a bit more shiny. And a few more problems with the Iron Man armor is that the articulation, mainly in the shoulders, when you try to raise it up, you see the shoulder pad just starts to warp and bend, which is never a good thing. I don't know. I feel like Marvel Legends, I feel like at this point the Hasbro team could have found a way around that. They found many solutions around the shoulders for Iron Man figures over the years, so I'm surprised he couldn't find one for this one. I mean, they could have just painted it. They could have just made the shoulder yellow instead of putting an actual shoulder pad over it. But I don't know. That's just my one takeaway. Another is right here. It goes backward pretty far, but like forward, it could be. It's left to be desired. Now I'm gonna customize mine, so once I'm done with it, it's gonna be better, a better crunch. But that's really the only few problems I have is the articulation in the shoulder and right here. But one, you can actually turn the neck, which is always nice when they add articulation in the neck. That honestly impressed me a lot. They've been doing that a lot for their figures, so I was really happy with that. But overall, I love the design. It's a great Iron Man figure. It's amazing to pose around. It's one of my favorite Iron Mans in my collection, and it got the 8th spot. The 7th figure on my list is going to be the blue Power Ranger from, correct me if I'm wrong in the comics, I think Dino Thunder? I think it's Dino Thunder. It may be Dino Fury, but I think that's a newer Power Ranger show. But this was actually my first Lightning Collection figure that it got me hooked pretty much on the line. Like after I got it, I was very much impressed with it. I'm not like a stickler for Power Rangers, so I don't know if there's any inaccuracies with the figure or not. But this figure has basically everything you kind of need. I mean, obviously there can be improvements to the line, but it has double jointed elbows. It has a great articulation in the waist. Let me see. Yeah, it goes pretty far. It goes pretty far forward. The sculpt looks great. The sculpt on almost every Power Ranger looks great. It came with some pretty good accessories as well. I love the helmet. It looks straight out of the show. Honestly, it's hard to really hate any Power Ranger figure, but this is the one that came to mind when I looked at all the Power Rangers I had, which is 4, and this one favored. It took my eye the most. I really like the boots. I don't know why, but the boots are just really like. But in general, yeah, this figure just got me hooked on the line. I love everything about it, and yeah, this is number 7 on my top 10 list. I think this one's going to surprise a lot of people. I think I've already had plenty of surprises on this list, and this won't be the last one. But number 6 on my list is going to be Marvel Legends Iron Spider. It just came out like a few months ago. Personally, I love the red on this figure. I love the Iron Spider is one of my favorite Spider-Man suit designs ever. So there's a bit of bias, but there's bias to every pick. So it's just a high playing factor with this figure. Even when I take off the legs on this guy, I still can't help but pose it around. The articulation is generally it's average to the new standards that Marvel Legends has done with the more recent figures. But if you're going to compare this, like some people, didn't like it because it could have been better, more articulation for a Spider-Man character. But if you compare this to the Piece of Spidey figure, the articulation is basically the same with that older one. So like it's still better than most figures in my opinion for Marvel Legends. It's just now there's a higher floor that you have to reach. But in general, I could never stop playing this guy. I love the red. I love the gold. I love the legs work pretty well for a retail line. I don't know what else to say. It's just I just really enjoyed this figure. That's number 6 on my list. Number 5 on my list, we're now halfway through, is going to be Mdlx Optimus Prime from 3-0. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's pretty much a perfect figure. At this point now we're at a point where every figure from 5 to 1 is just in general just one of the best figures to come out this year, in my opinion. The colors are great. The detail is great. Like, going from top to bottom, the detail is just amazing. On every little speck part where you find on this figure, it's just amazing detail and sculpt. The articulation for a Transformer figure is just out straight through the roof. Look at this. Has an ab crunch. You never see that with a Transformer. Torso swivel. There's so many other things I could show you, but I'm trying not to be too long, but anything you think of any type of articulation that isn't on a Transformer usually, this guy definitely has it. It's just a great figure. And that will be number 5 on my list. Number 4 is going to be Tamashii Nation's SH Figuarts Ultimate Gohan from Dragon Ball Super Superhero. This figure straight up surprised me. I got it kind of on a gamble. I wasn't sure I was going to like it or not because I've never gotten an SH Figuarts figure. This would be my first one. It will also be my first Dragon Ball Z character ever in my collection. And this figure got me hooked. It got me hooked on that company and on this line. I'm definitely in the future get more Dragon Ball Z characters. This Gohan figure, the sculpt is great. I got lucky that this is my first one because this is actually, from what I heard, one of the better sculpts, one of the newer ones that Tamashii Nations has made, and they did a crazy good job with this. The detail in the chest, the arms. I like the size of the portion of the body, because sometimes for anime characters that can be a little screwed at some points, but not on this character. The proportions have been done great. The hair's done great. The face, especially for a cartoon character or an anime character, the face looks identical. Looks straight up the same, because I looked at older Gohan characters, older Gohan figures, I mean, that they did in the past, and it didn't look nothing like Gohan. This looks exactly like Gohan. It's just, in general, a great figure. And I hope in the future I may get more effects, some Super Saiyan effects, but I'm not gonna hold my breath on that, because I'm not gonna even talk about that. But yeah, this is number 4 on my top 10. Number 3 on my top 10 list is going to be G.I. Joe Classified Series Storm Shadow. This is going to be, for a lot of people, in my opinion, one of the best figures to come out this whole year. It's definitely Classified Series, probably best figure they've put out to date. I could be wrong in that, but this is an amazing figure. I got it off of a whim. I saw a few shots of it on Instagram. I was like, you know what? It looks pretty good. Saw it in my comic book store and just picked it up, and I was blown away. The articulation is there. There's everything you need in the figure. It has a ball joint, I think, in the neck as well, and in the head. It's there. The freaking, it has swivels everywhere, in the feet, in the gauntlets, in the bicep, which is expected. It has even I think it has a ball joint in the hip, actually. So let me see. Yeah, it does. Which for Hasbro, really, you don't see that for Marvel Legends, like, hardly ever. That's not a thing that happens. I've seen that more of G.I. Joe figures, which honestly takes them a bit at edge over the Marvel Legends. Just having that little ball joint in there, it adds a bit more articulation, a bit more movement for the figure overall, and I just love that. It has generally everything. The mold, the sculpt is great, and plus, he's a ninja. He's a ninja. Everyone loves ninjas. And honestly, when you have a basic ninja like this, just a straight up plain ninja, but that has everything you desire in a figure and more in accessories, it's hard just not to love. I love this figure. I imagine once my, top 10 at the end of the year comes out, he's probably going to be in the same place. Probably number 3. He may be higher. Who knows? But he's probably going to be in the same place. Or maybe a little bit lower. But he's definitely not leaving my top 10. I would tell anyone who sees this video, if you've seen my top 5 for this video, get him. Get this guy especially. Please get him. You will not be disappointed. Now, number 2 on my list is, this may surprise some. I guess a lot of people may have thought, if Endgame Iron Man from Mdlx shows up in this list, is a guaranteed number 1 spot. But yeah, as superior as some of the Mdlx figures are, there's something about other figures that just, I won't get into that. But number 2, this will probably not change my top 10 list either. The paint is godly, top tier. The accessories are great. You can get this into a lot of different poses you wouldn't expect. You can get into poses that Iron Man shouldn't be able to get into. Actually, like Spider-Man like poses at some points. The gold looks great. The proportions on the body looks great. I compared this to the SH Figuarts one, and in my opinion, the proportions on here make a bit more sense than any other company I've seen. Maybe besides 3-0, but it's just an amazing looking figure. I don't know what else to say. It's hard to talk about a figure that has generally no imperfections whatsoever. The accessories came with a lot of accessories too, but this is number 2 on my list. And before we get to number 1, this is going to be some honorable mentions. I got 4 honorable mentions I'd like to talk about real quick. And some of these may surprise you that somehow I have these figures, but they didn't make the top 10 list. One would be Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. Great figure. It almost did make the list, but then I thought about, I don't want my list to be dominated with a lot of Spider-Man. And then there were some figures that did deserve a spot in there. So even with it, you know, not making it doesn't mean it's not a great figure. It's an amazing figure. It's probably the best OG Spider-Man you can get right now. But there's going to be others in the future, I imagine. But it almost could have made the list. And there's a mention right here. Wolverine. Only reason why I didn't make the list is because it's a repaint. And it's not just like a new repaint. It's a heavy repaint. This figure's been repainted a lot. And it feels weird to put this on any more top 10 list. And I feel like that's the same for most people. So, like, unless they had given us a new Wolverine mold with this paint job, I would have definitely put in there. But it is still a great freaking figure. If it wasn't just for the fact that it's an older mold, it would have easily made it in there. Armored Spider-Man. I had the same feeling for the Armored Spider-Man as for Iron Spider. It's very easy to play with. I love the molding, the sculpt, but it came out in 2021, and I didn't know. I could be wrong at that. Maybe it didn't come out in 2021, but when I looked at the bottom of the foot, what tells us when it was manufactured and made, it showed 2021. So I was very much surprised by that. But I just wanted to mention it in here anyway. And then Mdlx Bumblebee. Great figure. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that I got an Optimus like a few weeks ago, it would have made the list. But Optimus was just better, not in every way, but just I favored Optimus more over Bumblebee. But that being said, these are my honorable mentions. Now let's get down to number 1. Number 1 on my top 10 list. This may surprise some of you. This may not surprise some of you at all. Is going to be first appearance Spider-Man. Everything you may have liked about the Renew Your Vows Spidey in every way, every complaint you may have had, this figure either does it better or it doesn't have that problem. In my opinion, for a Spider-Man character, because there's been arguments over the years, he's too muscular or he's too skinny. Like the piece of Spidey was too skinny. The retro body was a bit too muscular. This is in the middle. It's skinny enough and is also just muscular enough. It's the perfect Spider-Man body in my opinion. And not only is the articulation great, the articulation, weirdly, especially around the midsection, is better than the Renew Your Vows one. The only thing it doesn't have is the toe digits. If it had that, it would easily, honestly, I'll say it's still perfect in my opinion. I still just love this figure because you can get this figure in other Spidey poses that the Renew Your Vows can get into as well, but not as clean. This is just an amazing Spider-Man body, and I hope they use this Spider-Man body much more often in the future, which they are. They've used it for already 2 other Spider-Man figures, the cel-shaded one and the 3-figure pack with the Spider-Man and his amazing friends pack. That one is probably going to be the ideal Spidey for a lot of people when they pick that up. I don't try to pick up many 3-packs or 2-packs, but I'm definitely going to try to pick that one up just for the Spider-Man. But until I get that one, this one is probably going to stay in my top 10 list. Even when I get the other blue version of this guy, he may just be lower. He may just be 10 or something. He deserves to stay on his list throughout the whole year. This is an amazing figure, and this is my number 1 figure so far in 2022.